Hey folks, I'd like to take a minute to talk about some of the changes, that occur this time of year between the early season fronts and the bull tides that we get, in September, early October, and how that kind of changes our game plan on a daily basis. Uh, as we know, as most of us have discussed, when the water comes up, when we get these coastal flood advisories, a lot of our bait fish scatter, and a lot of them push further back into the grass, and some of them push up the creeks and into the marsh. Um, some of our predator fish will follow that bait back into the back marsh, back country, if you will. But I think, my opinion, I believe that most of your trout get, kind of understand that it's a temporary thing, and the biomass, so to speak, won't push back into the back marsh. Now, when you couple that with a front or a north wind like we've had the last 2 or 3 days, what that does is stacks a lot of bait up against the bank. And I'm a fan of walking and wading windward shorelines, and so if I can find that green water or that chalky colored water on the windward bank with the right ingredients, with the bait and the rafts of mullet swimming around, you bet I'm jumping out. But it can be a little different walking. You don't want to get right up on the bank. You need to make long casts. You need to be able to stay back off the bank, not to spook those fish one way or the other, so you have a chance to catch up with them. But then also it's lateral movement down the bank or up the bank, to continue on to catching some of those fish, catching some of those trout and those reds that are pushed up feeding on the bait. And it's something that not a lot of people think about this time of year, but it can be a very effective tool. It can be a very effective key to your fishing, because it's one of those areas that might not have been run over as bad as, say, as when we had our typical south wind or something to that nature. But it's a quieter zone. It can be a smaller zone. So sometimes you do have to walk a little tighter, but it can produce, and it can produce some really good trout and really good redfish action. Take that into consideration when you're looking at planning on coming down. And you still have to know what our bay can sustain, what it can hold as far as green water, what's like the threshold for the winds. And once you get that figured out, I think on these north winds with high tides, I think you're going to find more places to fish and more places to be successful off the beaten path. I hope y'all have fun this weekend. Stay safe out there. It looks like it could start raining. It looks like it could be pretty bad later on in the weekend. But y'all just be careful, and we'll see you next week.